This first picture was near Hope, British Columbia, Fraser River, with a little snow on the mountains in the background. And later on I came to Hell's Gate, interesting place. 3 times the amount of water that goes over Niagara Falls flows through this small gap in the mountains every minute. This gap is 100 feet wide. I'd like to have gotten down there to see it, but it was going to be 3 hours before they opened up the tram, so I didn't get down there. Next picture is a shot of the gorge below that particular spot. This next picture shows a helicopter up there in the tree line, hauling up a piece of equipment, lifting it, carrying it off. Thought that was interesting. And we have the Canadian Highway just north of Clinton, BC, Parsnip River, Bayou Falls. I took a lot of pictures of that. None of them really came out beautifully, as beautiful as the country is. And the once in a while highway construction that I run into. This was a view outside my window one morning when I woke up after getting a good night's sleep. These chainsaw carvings were very interesting, very detailed. They did a great job on them. Chetwynd, BC. 70 degrees out and 75% cloud cover. Guess I walked a couple of miles to get these pictures. Some of them were a few blocks apart, up and down the town. I was impressed with how flat that country is up there. The valleys are wide and long. This was a tough country to build a highway in. I stopped to take that picture and I looked around and I saw this billy goat over the side of the hill. And he came up to say hello. I was surprised he came walking up toward me. And then Doggy got in the picture. I had to run him off. He's still down there if you can see him off into the right. You can just see his eye and his horn. And he came back. He was curious about the doggy. He came back and wanted to see what Chi Chi was all about. And I was surprised he got up within about 20 feet of me. Before Chi Chi finally ran him off, he took off down the hill. So we moved on. I enjoyed working with these panoramas. It was fun putting them together. This mountain, I don't recall the name of it, but I was impressed with the folds in the mountain. You can get a pretty good look at what I'm talking about right here. That mountain was just folded up over the years. Oh, that little white spot I forgot to mention, that was a boat out there in that lake. And this was interesting. I came to a complete stop and took a couple of pictures, and everybody else was waiting. I thought, I'm not going to wait. I'm just going to go on. So I put it in drive and let the car go, though, 3 or 4 miles an hour, closer and closer to these guys. And they never did move. I got up close enough to smell them. I think right here I could have reached out and touched the end of his nose, but he'd have probably tipped my car over if I'd done it. There were quite a herd of them there, well, 8 or 10 anyway. Another long overlook. Took that picture just because I didn't know what that big old bang was up there. That hole in the side of the mountain. Welcome to Yukon, and some dusty road, gravel highway. Pretty blue sky with a few clouds. I think that says Teslin Lake. George Johnson Museum. It was 7:30 in the morning. They weren't open yet. I didn't go inside. I just took 2 or 3 pictures on the outside and got back in the car. I think that's the Teslin Lake overlook. About noontime, I entered Whitehorse. A few pictures, got some trail mix, tank of gas, some postcards, and moved on. $946 miles from Dawson. This is a typical BC rest stop, no running water. Just a place to do your stuff in the cold, at least out of the falling rain. This is what the bridge looked like in 1920-21. This was before they built the Alcan Highway. I don't know if that's the one they used in the Alcan Highway or not, but it's sure not the one we use today. That was called the Canyon Creek Bridge. And then miscellaneous Yukon pictures as time wore on. I parked next to this lake one night. Got in kind of late in the afternoon. Sun was still quite high, but it was getting dark because the clouds were so thick. Doggy had to stir up some little ducks, so I took pictures of the ducks. Stayed there overnight and out on the road the next morning. This was looked like an outdoor museum. This equipment was sitting out there in the trees, just deteriorating over time. This was from the years when they were building the highway. Had to try another shot of a reflecting lake. And then Welcome to Alaska. And that was a shot back, looking back at Yukon territory. This was a 42 truck I found sitting on the side of the road. A moose. She took running off right after I took this picture. I think she was in the process of running when I snapped that picture. And this is a shot of the Christie River Bridge. It's completely dry now, but it has to be a real mess in the early spring. 105 miles to Fairbanks. Strangely enough, I never did take one picture in Fairbanks. Stopped at the Naughty Shop before I got to the North Pole. These were interesting things. These were big. Big tree stumps and tree knots and things the guy had found out in the woods, and he brought them over and cleaned them up, and some of them stand 5 or 6 feet tall. This one was about 4, I guess. And then there's a sign to the North Pole. And there's a sign of people at the North Pole. There's Santa Claus. I didn't stay too long in North Pole. Just kept moving on through. And drove right on through Fairbanks, and after I got by there, I took a picture looking back on Fairbanks country. Thanks for watching.